Yes, dear students, welcome to PUC first year biology class. In the previous classes, we were studying about the biological classification. In that, we have studied one of the kingdom called Monera. The first kingdom, Monera, we have studied. And today we will be studying about the Protista, which is the second kingdom in this chapter. About the Protista, we have to see again, these are the organisms which are called single-celled eukaryotic organisms. They are the single-celled eukaryotic organisms. They are primarily aquatic in nature. These organisms are primarily aquatic in nature. It forms a link with plants, animals, and fungi. This is the group which connects the plants, animals, and the fungi group. It is one of the linkage we can see. These are the type of organisms which reproduces sexually and asexually by the process involving cell fusion and the formation of the gametes taking place in this. Cell contains well-defined nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles, somehow flagella or cilia. Therefore, it is single-celled eukaryotic. Moneras, when we take the first kingdom, Monera, they are the prokaryotes. Here, Protista onwards, Protista, fungi, Plantia, Animalia, these groups are called eukaryotic organisms because true nuclear membrane is there and cell membrane bound organelles are present in these inside the cell. So they are called the eukaryotic organisms. In this, the major groups classification of the protistas are, the protistas are classified into 5 major groups in this. One is called chrysophytes, gynoflagellates, euglenoids, slim molds, protozoans. I repeat, the protistas are being classified into 5 groups: chrysophytes, gynoflagellates, euglenoids, slim modes, protozoans. These are the groups in the kingdom called Protista. And the first group is chrysophytes. They are found in freshwater and marine environment also. They are again microscopic, float passively in water currents. Through the movement of the water, these keeps on moving. Most of them are photosynthetic, capturing the sunlight and able to prepare the food. Many of them are there. And they include diatoms and golden algae. These are the 2 groups in that chrysophytes. So diatoms, they have siliceous cell wall forming 2 thin overlapping cells which fit together as in soap box. How we keep the soap inside the box, in similar manner it will be having the siliceous covering cell wall. The cell wall deposits of diatoms over billions of years in their habitat is known as diatomaceous earth. These are the organisms which are aquatic in nature, and once when these organisms die, as I told, the cell wall is rich with the silicon. The deposition of the silicon takes place at the beds, the bottom of the water body, and a silicon bed is formed. That formation of the silicon bed is called diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth. These are the chief producers in the oceans. These are the chief producers in the oceans, and from these, the deposition of the silicon takes place. Therefore, it is called the diatomaceous earth. The dinoflagellates, these mostly marine, again they are also photosynthetic. Marine, they are living in the salty water. Marine means these are the organisms which are living in the salty water. They appear yellow, green, brown, blue, or red depending on the main pigments in the cells. The pigment that is present in the cell matters for the appearance of the color. They may be appearing yellow, green, brown, blue, or red. Cell wall has stiff cellulose plates on the outer surface. The deposition of the cellulose takes place on the outer surface. Most of them have two flagella. One lies longitudinally and the other transversely in a furrow between wall plates. Red dinoflagellates, example, Gynolux. This undergoes rapid multiplication so that the sea appears red. It is also called red tide. Toxins released by such large members can kill other marine animals such as fishes. What happens in the seas, oceans? Suddenly there is an increase in the number of the red dinoflagellates, and as there is increase in the population of that, and suddenly the water color turns into red. That is called the red tides. These undergo a rapid multiplication to increase their population so that the water turns into red color. Therefore, it is called a red tide. The earlier it is called diatomaceous earth, and here it is a red tide. And another group is called the euglenoids. These are mainly freshwater organisms found in stagnant water. Stagnant water means standing water. Mainly freshwater organisms found in stagnant water. Wherever static water is there, at that place these organisms are found. Instead of cell wall, they have protein-rich layer called pellicle. It makes their body flexible, and they have two flagella, a short one and a long one. Two flagellas are there. These flagellas are helpful for the movement of the organism. They are photosynthetic in the presence of sunlight, photosynthetic in nature. In the presence of sunlight, they are able to prepare the food. When deprived of sunlight, they behave like heterotrophs by predating on other smaller organisms. In the absence of the sunlight, they depend upon the other organisms, and then in such cases, they become heterotrophs. These are the organisms which can become heterotrophs also and heterotrophs also. In the presence of sunlight, they become heterotrophs, photosynthetic in nature, and in the absence of sunlight, they become heterotrophs. The pigment of the euglenoids are identical to those of higher plants. Example, euglena. Just example, you are familiar is euglena. Euglena is one of the example of that. They are saprophytic protistas. The body move along, decaying. Another group is slim molds. About that, slim molds, they are saprophytic. They are saprophytic means they get the food from the dead and decaying organic matter. The body moves along decaying twigs and leaves engulfing organic matter. From that, under suitable conditions, they form an aggregation called plasmodium, which may grow and spread over several feet. They grow during unfavorable conditions. The plasmodium differentiate and forms fruiting bodies bearing spores at their tips, and they suspend their activities. During the unfavorable conditions, fruiting bodies are being formed and they suspend their activities. Spores possess true walls. They are extremely resistant and survive for many years. The spores are dispersed by air currents. It is being carried by the air so that the dispersion of that spores is taking place. This is about the slimodes, which is the fourth group. And the large group is called the protozoa. Protozoa is the fifth group, which comes in the Protista. When it comes to the protozoa, one of the example that comes to our mind is amoeba. Yes, that will be the one of the best example which we can give, which we have studied, which comes under the protozoa. That will be the one of the example which comes under the protozoa. They are heterotrophs. These are the type of organisms which depend upon the others for the food. Therefore, they are called heterotrophs. Hetero means others. Trophs means depending. These are the type of organisms which are depending upon other organisms for the food. They may be predators, prey and predator relationship. You can say predators, they kill off the other organism and eat smaller organisms, or they may be parasite. They may be living on the other organism. Predators, parasites. They are believed to be primitive relatives of animals. So when we go back to the earlier classifications, these protozoans were put under the kingdom called Animalia because they resemble the Animalia, and from these were the basic for the evolution, they say. But when they went in detail to that, these are the organisms which are single celled. Therefore, they brought in this separate, they placed them in the separate kingdom, which is in the Protista. In the Protista, they have been put up. There are four major groups of the protozoans. One is called amoeboid protozoans. Another one is called flagellated protozoans. Another one is called ciliated protozoans. And another one is called sporozoans. These are the major groups of the protozoa. One is the amoeboid protozoa. These are the organisms live in fresh water, seawater, or moist soil. They move and capture prey by putting out pseudopodia. Pseudopodia means false food. You can give example of amoeba. You can give example of entamoeba. You can give example of entamoeba histolytica, we say. So, with the help of false food, they are able to capture the food and they are able to move. Marine forms have silica shells on their surface, and some are parasites. For example, entamoeba histolytica, that is living inside the body of the living human being. So they are parasites. In such cases, they will become parasitic in nature. Flagellated protozoans, free living or parasitic. They are free living or they parasitic in nature. They depend upon the others. They have flagella. They have the flagella which helps for the movement. Parasitic forms cause disease like sleeping sickness. Trypanosoma is one example where it causes sleeping sickness. And another one is ciliated protozoans, aquatic in nature, and they are able to move with the help of cilia. They have a cavity called gullet that opens to outside. Due to the movement of the cilia, water with foods enters into the gullets, that is cavity, enter into the cavity. One of the example is paramecium. Again, we are very familiar with the paramecium. They have the spore-like structures and which comes in their life cycle. What we say them as sporozoans. And example for the sporozoans is plasmodium. And this plasmodium is called malarial parasite that causes malaria in the human being. We get malaria, it is because of the organism called the plasmodium vivax, we say. Plasmodium vivax is the organism that causes malaria. These are the some of the examples of the protozoans. With this, we have studied about the protozoan, and about the next topic We'll see in the tomorrow's class. Thank you.